Okay, this is EDL 850 case study for threats over the World Wide Web presented by Bridget King. First of all, I'm going to list the information that I know by reading the case study. The first piece of information that I know is that Dr. Stephen Forbes has been the principal of Roosevelt High School for 9 years, which is an affluent area of a large city. He's been recognized as Principal of the Year, and he's respected by the students and the parents. He also works very hard to maintain his highly regarded reputation. He's very particular about the teacher applicants that he recommends for hire. The parents have high-profile careers in this community, such as attorneys, doctors, careers such as that. And because of this status, the students are very well dressed, always have the latest style in clothing, and they have the most up-to-date access to technology. Okay, this case involves a fairly new teacher. She's just kind of at the beginning of her second year. She was hired a year ago, very highly qualified. She comes in with a postgraduate work, with a master's degree. She didn't even apply for a teaching position until she had all this coursework done because she wanted to make sure she was fully qualified. She's very dedicated to her career. She's young. She's single. Although she's young, she is, a little older for a new teacher being hired. And she was hired to teach specialized science courses that the high achieving students would want to enroll in. Those that are either like salutatorian or valedictorian bound. She takes a very serious approach. She's very strict with her schedule, with her students. She maintains very high standards in her classroom and has a very rigorous schedule. The students do seem a little stressed because they feel like they have a pretty heavy workload. The parents have complained about the workload of the kids, afraid that it's going to bring down the students' grades, and that's not something that the parents want. Dr. Forbes has visited with Miss Walker and offered some intervention, offered some ideas, some strategies. There wasn't a lot of information as to how much these were implemented, but she hasn't had any success as to date with these interventions. Okay, Miss Walker is into about November of her second year. There's been a long weekend. She's taken advantage of the long weekend to go see her parents, which is about 3 hours away. She comes home and checks her mail, and she receives an anonymous email that forwards her to a web page, which, out of curiosity, she clicks on the web page, and on that web page is some threatening information specifically regarding her. She panics. She calls Dr. Forbes. He asks her for more information. He wants her to forward him the site so he can check it out for himself. He looks it over, calls her back, basically tells her not to worry, that he thinks it's just a prank, but they would address it first thing in the morning. She does express that she feels like it's a particular student that causes problems in classroom. She has just had a difficult time proving that this student is causing some conflict in the classroom. Based on the information from this case, some things that I need to know are specifically what intervention Miss Walker has tried to improve the relations with her students in her classroom. How long has she tried these interventions? What else has been tried to create positive relationships? Something else I feel like I need to know is if the parents that have been complaining to the principal are typical parents that complain, or if this is an isolated case. Something else I feel like I would need information on is why there's so much friction with Miss Walker. Why it's not happening with any of the other teachers. So basically, I have identified the problem to be that there has been an anonymous threat made personally to Miss Walker through a web page with intent to startle her. My plan of action is to first ensure Miss Walker that she feels safe at the school by providing extra encouragement, maybe even some extra supervision, providing, someone to check on her at certain times during her class, possibly even to do some observing myself just to make her feel a little more at ease and comfortable. Um, One of the other things that I feel like needs done is to be able to investigate the threat. I plan to do this in two ways. The first way is to interview the students and the staff to get as much information as I can. I feel like it's also important in this case to employ the use of our technology staff, get them on this case, have them investigate to see where they can see if they can figure out where this URL originated from. I also plan to work with Ms. Walker on some positive student-parent relationships, possibly assign a teacher mentor that has had some success in this area. If the source of the threat is identified, then I feel that appropriate disciplinary action should be taken. As far as my resolution that would promote student success, I feel like it's my responsibility as the building leader to maintain the position of the school by emphasizing to the students and the staff what types of actions and behaviors are expected to be able to maintain this status. I will also provide some examples of how this has been accomplished in the past and praise them for some of the things that they've done well. Also, I plan to be very clear about consequences for any kind of threats, any kind of destructive or disruptive behavior. I want to be very clear about what the consequences are for that. I also plan to follow up with Ms. Walker on some positive parent-student relation work. My first reactions to this case were that I don't feel like Ms. Walker's really fitting into the culture of this school very well. They have a high-class mentality. It doesn't seem like she's really fitting into that mix. This could be a reason that she's receiving some resistance. I also wonder how much the parents are catered to, in other situations. If the parents have a complaint, are they generally pacified, or is Miss Walker just not willing to back down? And that could possibly be one of the concerns. I also wonder how strict the principal will be when administering disciplinary action. Maybe he doesn't want to tarnish the reputation of the school and the students. My hopes are that this case will be appropriately investigated and appropriate disciplinary action will be administered. I don't know that there were really any unresolved issues in this case, other than that the investigation just hasn't been completed yet. The source of the web page certainly needs to be resolved. Further investigation and observation into the teaching environment and Ms. Walker's professional relationships with the students absolutely needs to be considered. With all this being said, as the building leader, I feel like the principal should promote a sense of integrity and ethical behavior by handling the situation in a manner as he would for any staff member. Investigation into the situation should be very thorough and unbiased. And the matter should also be immediately addressed to avoid any further accusations or threats. As the building leader, I feel like that the teacher's concerns and safety should be taken into consideration. Also, actions should be taken to assure that the teacher's still maintaining a professional attitude while all this is going on in the classroom, that she doesn't bring this into her teaching or into the school environment or discuss this with others or students. It should be not discussed in any way outside of a controlled environment. Any students interviewed should be done so in a very professional manner, in an unbiased manner, and should also be kept confidential. I am stressing again that the teacher's safety and concerns should be honored and evaluated. I do believe that empathy towards the teacher should be reflected. I feel like that's important in this case. The matter, again, should only be discussed with those who have a need to know.